Hey, this is Jack with ReciPal, and today we're going to be looking at how to use the software to do some research and development for your recipe formulation. Now, sometimes you have your recipe set, and the only thing you need to do is plug it into our software so it can spit out the nutrition label for you. But other times you may want to leverage the software to figure out how to optimize your recipe. This is a pretty obvious warning note here, but you can only do so much optimization just playing around with things on a computer. It's not going to tell you how the recipe will taste. But what you can do is you can experiment with how different ingredients affect nutrition, with how different proportions of those ingredients affect nutrition, and you can look at the benchmarks you want to hit and adjust those things to reach the nutrition levels that you want your product to achieve. That said, it's always got to taste great, so it has to be a balance between how the recipe tastes and the goals you have in terms of the nutritional value that you hope the product can achieve. So to demonstrate how this works, we're going to make a very simple recipe for a bar that has just 2 ingredients. The inspiration's coming from Larabar. They do a great job of their marketing, that they're just using a limited number of real ingredients, and they have one product that just uses 2 ingredients, which is cashews and dates. So we're going to try to experiment with a formulation of a bar that uses cashews and dates and see what would happen if we wanted to optimize the protein and carbohydrates in that recipe to create a new value proposition for a potentially new product line. Okay, so here's a really simple recipe I put together. It has just cashews and dates in equal proportions, 24 grams each. And I see the nutrition preview, but that's showing me the aggregated data of the cashews and the dates together. But if I want to learn how I can optimize this recipe, I want to see how each ingredient is contributing to the nutrition. And for that, I'm going to look at the nutrition breakdown. So I just go to the More tab and select Nutrition Breakdown. From this screen, I can take a look at the nutrients I'm concerned with and understand how these 2 ingredients are working together. So for the carbs, I want to create a recipe that reduces the number of carbohydrates. And I see here that the dates are the main contributor to carbs in this recipe. And for protein, I want to create a recipe that has an increased amount of protein. And I see that the cashews are the ingredient that are contributing most to the protein. So now I'm going to adjust the proportions of my recipe with what I learned about how each ingredient is contributing to the nutrition. So I'm going to increase the amount of cashews and decrease the amount of dates. So we'll do 30 grams of cashews and 18 grams of dates and see how that affects the nutrition. All right, so the carbohydrates went down from 25 grams to 23 grams, and the protein went up from 5 grams to 6 grams, which is exactly what we wanted to happen. Now, the other thing we could try to do is to look for a substitution that helps us optimize the nutrition the way we want to. So I don't actually know enough about this to know if this works, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the cashews to almonds and to peanuts to see if maybe I put in a different nut, it will have better outcomes in terms of lower carbohydrates and higher protein content. So back on the nutrition breakdown screen, I can evaluate which type of nut will help me best reach my goal. So when I'm looking at the carbohydrates, I see that cashews actually contain the most carbohydrates, almonds next, and then peanuts the least. So peanuts winning in that category in terms of lowering the number of carbohydrates. Now when I go over to protein and look at what contributes the most protein, cashews actually have the least protein, followed by almonds and then peanuts. So based on comparing these ingredients just on these categories I'm trying to optimize, it looks like the peanut is the best choice for my recipe. So if I go back to the recipe page and now only include the peanuts, I find that the carbs go down from 23 grams to 18 grams, and the protein goes up from 6 grams to 8 grams. This means that overall, the changes I made to the proportions and the ingredients used led to a 28% decrease in carbohydrates and a 60% increase in protein. So this was pretty much the simplest recipe that you could possibly make, but if you take a look at the nutrition breakdown screen, It's going to help you uncover some things you may not have realized about how certain ingredients are contributing to the nutrition, and that will allow you to either make changes to the proportions of those ingredients or to look for substitutions that might help you better meet your goals. If you're ready to do some R&D on your recipes, you can get started for free at ReciPal.com.